Wagwan everybody, Lennox here from Simple123 Trader. This is the weekly playbook outlook for the week of August 1st to August 6th. Hope everybody's doing well and are safe. Let's take a look at the futures and all the currencies and US tech and indices. Okay, starting off with the Australian dollar. And from previous weeks, I've been calling for continued downward moves in Australian dollar, and that's what we see is currently going on, and we are still heading down. So looking for probably price to come down into this area. Of course, that could take a while, but it's still going to be we're heading down to this area, as it were. Okay, it's an area. So it's continued weakness for the Australian dollar. So look for sells on any pullbacks to the upside. And right now it's still heading to the downside. So weakness in the Australian dollar going forward. Taking a look at Bitcoin on the weekly. Now you can see what Bitcoin is doing. And let me just widen this up a little bit. So quite the drop. It's reached an area of bouncing, and again, it's an area and has bounced in here back up to reach back up to this area, and now is more than likely going to reverse and come back down again. So looking for weakness in Bitcoin in the long term. However, short term, we could see price break above this level, heading back up into this area before we get a turnaround. So a little bit of strength, very, very short term in Bitcoin this week, okay, before it starts to turn and drop again. All right, take a look at crude oil. Okay, crude oil came against a little stumbling block of resistance right in here and pulled back, but is now looking to continue its onward and upwards onslaught. It's going to again come back into resistance at this point in this area, but still looking pretty strong. We should be able to go through that. We might get a pullback, something like this, before we go, but a little bit of strength in crude oil going into this week. Let's take a look at the Canadian dollar. Okay, on the weekly, Canadian dollar quite the drop, but is now looking to turn back to the upside. So if I go to the monthly on this chart, you'll see where we are overall. So we've come from a long way down, and we're pushing to the upside. So looks like we're ready to continue the move to the upside. We came to against some resistance in this area, but pull back, and now we're looking to push to the upside. So this, of course, long term, but in the short term, again, we're pushing to the upside on Canadian dollar. So a little bit of strength in Canadian dollar going on into this week. Okay, the US dollar. Okay, calling for from last week price to move back up into this area here and turning around to the downside. So looking for some weakness in the US dollar going into this week. And you can see that's already setting up and heading down. So looking for continued weakness. Any pullback, opportunity to sell the US dollar. Okay. The euro on the weekly. Euro, if the US dollar continues its move to the downside, we would expect the euro now, which has reached the support area, to bounce to the upside. So that's what it looks like it's doing. So going into this week, we could see an upward move in the euro if the US dollar continues its move to the downside, because these two do the opposite of each other. So we've come down to again an area of support, and now looking to bounce off that. So a little bit of strength going into this week for the euro. Looking at the Swiss franc on the weekly. Okay, Swiss franc, you can see it's also in a very interesting area, and we get a bounce off that area, and now we're pushing back to the upside. So looks like a little bit of strength going into this week is in the cards, and we could come back up into, of course, another resistance area again in this up here. So looking for some strength into Swiss franc going into this week. Looking at gold on the weekly, gold took quite a move down, back up, back down. Now is trying to very hard to push back to the upside. Does it have enough strength? Let's take a closer look. Looking like after this move here, um, that we could indeed be pushing back to the upside one more time, but this could be short-lived. I could see this maybe reaching this area and then pulling back again. So short term up on gold, but be careful, it could be short lived. Okay. Taking a look at the Japanese yen on the weekly. Big drop down to a support area again, and now we're pushing off that to the upside. Is it going to continue going to the upside? Let's take a closer look. Looks like there's some strength here. We've broken through um, and looking to go to the upside. So a little bit of strength in the Japanese yen going into this week. All right, and we'll take a look at the New Zealand dollar. So this would be similar to the Aussie. If I can get that to switch over. There we go, New Zealand on the weekly. Okay, so similar to the Aussie, but not as steep a decline. We had the head and shoulders. We broke through. We dropped down, but it's not going down as quickly as I thought it would. In comparison to what the Aussie did. So on the daily, big drop, very choppy, very volatile, and now looking to, I think it's going to stay in this area here, but eventually we're going to fall through. Okay, so looking for some strength short term, but be aware that this could fall against you shortly. Okay, Mexican peso on the weekly. Okay, we're right at that serious resistance area, trying to break through to the upside. It's been trying for quite a while. Is it ready to go through? It's possible, but it's tried so many times. It's hard to say, yes, it's going to break through. It doesn't look like it will. It looks like it will come back down before it does and come back again. So short term, a little bit of up, but it's hitting some serious resistance. As you can see, this area has not been breached, at least not by much in the long time. All right, let's take a look at the British pound. Also now pushing back to the upside. So quasi head and shoulders could form here. So we can see this push back up to here and then coming back down. But that's a long-term look. On the daily, we're heading to the upside. So weakness in the US dollar will propel the British pound to the upside. But right now it's very tenuous. So going into this week, yes, we could have some strength, but we could have a little bit of pullback first. So be aware of that. Looking at silver and gold, sort of doing a similar dance, but silver looking a little bit stronger at this point here. So we could see a push back to the upside. This is on the weekly, so one weekly bar just starting, so we could see that push to the upside. On the daily, looking, yes, like we could push the upside, but this could also be short-lived as I'm seeing this move to the up, come back into this area. We could see this come back down again. So short-term up, just like in gold, but long-term down. Taking a look at the Russell 2000. This is a small cap stock, and we have been inside this choppy area for quite a while, and it's now trying to get back to the upside. Let's see if it's going to do that this week with all the earnings and so forth. We could see some movements to the upside, although the big boys have given their earnings. You can see that we're clearly in a channel here. So we're pushing back to the upside to challenge these previous highs for this week. So movements to the upside for the Russell 2000. The US the Dow 30. Big, huge moves to the upside here, and we've breached to new highs, and it's seen a little bit of hesitancy, but we could see this breakthrough as well to more highs this week, and that could all be catalyst will be the earnings. So looking pretty strong here at this point. So we'll see how that plays out. On the US 500 is similar. You can see almost identical chart, long, strong moves up. We broke through to new highs at this level, and calling for further push to the upside. We had a little bit of a pullback. Was expecting more of a drop than we had here, really, but it seems to be clinging to this trend line. So it looks like we're pushing to the upside this week. And lastly, the U.S. Technology Group, similar strong moves to the upside, looking pretty strong still. And on the daily, breaking to new highs, just like the U.S. 500, the pullback, but now we're pushing back to the upside. Strength going into this week as well. New highs possible by the end of the week. All right, so that's a look at all of the futures for the Simple 123 members. Keep your eye on the US dollar. It tells the tale of what's going on with the other major currencies. So profitable trading to everyone. Be safe. I'm done now. Thank you.